The whole thing occurred because Raymond's bed was next to the window. Not that it was an unusual window. On the contrary, it was quite a pleasant window, or so his mother said, and it fit nicely with the decorum of the rest of the room, if there is such a thing as decorum in the room of a very imaginative 12-year-old boy. However, judged by most standards, the window was just an ordinary second-floor window. It was a hot night in the middle of the summer. Raymond's parents, both physical fitness fanatics, did not believe in air conditioning. Ceiling fans that beautifully circulated hot air from floor to ceiling were the only concession to comfort. Needless to say, as was the way in an unfair world, Raymond's parents slept silently in their bedroom, while their son remained wide awake in his. Fortunately, Raymond did not mind. He liked staying up late, and he liked the heat. It gave him a chance to peer out the open window and invent shapes in the night. All 12-year-old boys did the same. Lying with their heads propped up on pillows next to the window, they made sinister shapes out of the neighborhood scenery that appeared so ordinary during the daylight. For a few hours each night, imagination ruled, and reason ceased to exist. The darkness gave everything and anything in a mysterious, exciting new life. The house on the corner became an ogre's monstrous face, with eyes closed in slumber. The mailbox turned into an alien death machine sliding down the street, and the clouds high in the sky usually turned into giant gray elephant-like beasts floating through the atmosphere. At night, the only boundaries were those you imposed on yourself. It was a wonderful time to be awake. Raymond was not sure if there would be any clouds tonight. All day the sky had been a bright blue without a hint of overcast. The weather report right before bed promised more of the same tomorrow. The sky was a huge velvet sheet with white dots of light shining through. The moon, immense and round, coated everything in sight with a bright silver glow. Raymond searched and searched, but there were no clouds to be found. Until he looked directly overhead, his face pressed right against the screen covering the window. There was one cloud, a solitary, small, fluffy white one, floating directly over his house, which was why he had not spotted it earlier. Pursing his lips together, he tried to decide what it resembled. A cat? A dog? Or a white elephant? None of these descriptions fit, so he turned to a secondary list. A mouse? A house? Maybe even a baseball cap? He could not make up his mind. Finally, Raymond resorted to his one sure answer. He settled on a face. The two indentations near the top worked as eyes. The cloud creature had no nose. The curve of night showing through became the mouth, turned up into a grin. While not perfect, it was good enough. Nodding his satisfaction, Raymond turned to other easier-to-identify shapes. The bungalow across the street where his friend Marvin lived became a massive tank, ready for battle against invaders. The old dead tree on the corner changed into a troll, gigantic arms outstretched to snatch some unsuspecting child from the curb. The street lamp turned into the giant glowing eye of a cyclops. The gnarled oak tree in front of his house not far from the window became a dragon. Odd how he had never noticed the resemblance before. Concentrating, he envisioned a great big, mean, and very scary, hungry dragon. Swiftly, the creature took shape. The twisted branches covered with green leaves became its huge mouth, opened wide with terrible appetite. The thick, bent trunk became its massive body, hidden by the undergrowth. Branches that stretched out almost to his window transformed into long claws, reaching out for prey. The night sky shining through two holes in the creature's head were its eyes. Raymond paused suddenly, his own eyes widening. He shook his head, trying to make sense out of nonsense. It couldn't be, but it was. His imaginary vision was moving. He gulped, swallowing hard. Making shapes in trees was fine, but it was another thing altogether when those shapes turned out to be real. He felt a sudden twinge of panic. Maybe he should have slept with his feet by the window. With a clatter, the dragon's claws twitched close by the window, scraping against the side of the house. They just missed the screen next to his head. The breath froze in Raymond's throat. He had not noticed before that the monster's mouth was filled with long white teeth. Teeth that had no possible relation to any shadow shape. Teeth that gnashed and ground together. But now, Raymond knew exactly what the dragon wanted for his midnight snack. But he could not move an inch. A weird supernatural force emitting from the eyes of the beast held Raymond glued to the spot. He was trapped, the unsuspecting victim of a shadow dragon. A monster that devoured unsuspecting children just like him. The dragon's mouth gaped open wide, wider, widest. It was at the window, ready to chomp through the screen, through the casement, and right through Raymond. Tears of anger and frustration glistened in Raymond's eyes. Night shapes were supposed to be fun. They weren't allowed to come to life. The dragon's claws reached again for the screen, hooking onto the metal. Raymond cringed, knowing it was all over. A long white arm, thick as a barrel but insubstantial as mist, reached down from above. Immense, marshmallow-like fingers wrapped around the dragon, pulling it off its perch in the tree like some pesky insect. With a whoosh, the monster disappeared upward. High above the house there was a crunch, then another, as if someone had just munched down on a giant pretzel. A cheerful voice out of the night whispered softly in Raymond's mind. "Thanks for the assist. I knew the shape dragon would not dare venture out into the shadows unless he saw an innocent victim to devour. He was getting pretty desperate lately, knowing I was on his trail. Guess we put an end to his schemes." Looking up out of his window, Raymond was not overly surprised to see the face in the cloud wink.